going on, cigar world? What's going on, YouTube family? This is Jack, the cigar enthusiast, coming to you live from Jacksonville, Florida, where it's always a great day to have a cigar. And I'm back with another video that's gonna start to educate you guys on the cigar industry and understanding the cigar culture. Today we're going over the 5 basic things that you have to understand when you're deciding to go smoke a cigar for the first time. Before you walk into a brick and mortar spot, before you walk into anywhere that sells cigars, these are 5 things that you have to understand before you go ahead and pick that cigar. So buckle in, strap up, and let's go. Today we're smoking on a Perdomo Torpedo 20th anniversary cigar. This is a great cigar. If you're thinking about getting a mild to medium cigar, this is one of those ones I would highly recommend. And no, I'm not sponsored by them, but this Perdomo 20th anniversary, it's a fairly cheap cigar. And it'll definitely get the job done when it's time to actually put all these 5 things together that I'm going to talk to you about and what to look for in a cigar, right? Last week I did my introduction video. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. I'm glad everybody got pumped up and ready to go and really just learn about the cigar thing. Cause I remember when I first started smoking cigars, if I knew what I'm about to tell you guys right now, I think this process would have been a lot more smoother because I tried several cigars before I finally started finding the ones that fit for me. You got to understand one thing. The purpose of cigars is the taste. It's to taste it, right? You don't inhale cigars, right? That is a big no-no. I remember the first time I smoked a cigar and I thought I was cool. I cut it, I lit it, and I took one big puff like this. And I inhaled it. Oh my God, when I tell you I almost died, I need y'all to understand, I almost died. It is not a great feeling, and you're going to cough all night long. And you're never really gonna experience the full cigar that you're smoking because now you're gonna be mad and you're gonna be like, oh, this is not for me. But it's really, I'm telling you, just don't inhale it. So let's dive into it. The 5 things that you need to understand when going to the cigar bar is 1. There's 3 parts of a cigar. There's a filler, there is a binder, and there is a wrapper. The filler is what is going to give you the aroma, right? It actually gives you the strength of the cigar. It gives you the smell of the cigar. 2 is binder. It's the binder. It's typically a bottom leaf that they use to just simply bind the cigar together to keep the shape, to keep the form. And then what gives you the flavor of the actual cigar is the wrapper. The wrapper. It's typically one of the best leaves out of the tobacco farm. It's usually aged the longest. In another video, we're gonna go in deeper detail of these 3 components and how important it really is to really understand the filler, the binder, and the wrapper. We're not gonna do that today. Again, this is just the 5 basic things that you have to understand before picking out your first cigar. Okay, so number 2, we're gonna go into the color of the wrapper. The color of the wrapper is essential because that's how you're picking your cigar. The lighter the color, the less boldness that cigar has. And then the darker the color, the more bold, the more strength is gonna impact behind it. So it's essential that you understand that when you are looking for a cigar for the first time, you go with a more lighter cigar. Now, I'm gonna just hit on it. And again, this is something that I'm gonna hit in a more separate video so you can understand the different wrappers. So when you see a green wrapper, you know what kind of wrapper it is. When you see a lighter brown wrapper like this one, you know what kind of wrapper it is. So you have Connecticut, Gordo, Habano, Maduro. That's the basics. That's all you need to know. Just know that you need to look at the wrappers and go with the more lighter wrapper. All right. Number 3 is essential, and I promise I'm trying to tell you this now so you don't get caught up in the hype. It does not, I repeat, it does not matter how much the cigar is. What does matter when it comes to cigar prices is the premium of the cigar. Not saying that a cheaper cigar is not a premium cigar. Not saying that a more expensive cigar is a premium cigar. It is solely based on your taste buds, and it is solely based on what kind of experience you're trying to have. There is no law out there that says when you go to smoke a cigar for the first time, you have to spend $20. Because I'm a firm believer that cigars are a pretty pricey habit. They're a pretty pricey sport, right? This is not something that you get in and say, you know what, I'm gonna be cheap all the way around. It just does not work like that. But when you're first starting, you don't really know if you're gonna enjoy this hobby. You don't really know if you're going to enjoy the cigar in which you picked. That's why it's important that you don't go spend $20, $30 on a cigar. Find you a cigar within a reasonable budget, 12, 14, shoot, even $9. Find a cigar within that budget and try it. So you can at least understand if you're gonna even get into this. Two, if you're gonna even like that cigar. Man, I tell you what, I have a cigar, and details is gonna be below. It's called a New Cuban. It's a $2.50 cigar, and I'm telling you, it's a great cigar. It is a lot better than some of the cigars I have tried throughout my time that was more on the expensive side. So never knock the price of a cigar and be like, well, that cigar is cheap, so it must be a terrible cigar. That's not the case. Number four is the cut that you use for the cigar. This is essential because depending on how you cut your cigar is depending on the drag that you're gonna get from that cigar, right? It really depends what type of cigar it is. Now, cigars, I told you, are broken down into different strengths, different wrapper colors, but it's also broke down in different molds, right? And this is something that we'll go into another video, and I promise I'm gonna end up linking this video back to those videos once I make them, just so it can all start to make sense. But the cut, there is punch cuts, there is straight cuts, there are V cuts. Cigar cuts vary depending on the mold of the cigar, whether it's a Lancero, whether it's a Robusto. And don't get caught up in what I'm throwing out, Lancero, Robusto, Toro. Don't get caught up in none of that, because it's going to be another video that I'm going to go in details the different molds, and I'm going to actually show you different type of molds of cigars out there. But the reason I'm putting it in this beginner video, because it's important to understand that your first cigar or what you smoking, depending on the mold of that cigar, depends on the way you're going to cut it. For a Lancero, which is what they call a drumstick, I'm not going to V-cut that. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to just straight cut it right at the cap, enough just to get the pull, because it's a really skinny cigar. Now, for a Robusto, it's a thicker cigar. So I can use a V-cut, or I can use a straight cut. It all depends on what type of drag you're trying to get from the cigar. So after you picked out your cigar and you are finally getting ready to light that cigar, but before you light that cigar, you have to understand that the cut of the cigar matters. If you don't know how to cut it, you don't know what cut to use, ask whoever you bought the cigar from, and I'm pretty positive they can point you in the right direction that'll give you the best quality drag and best quality experience of smoking your first cigar. Number five is the location in which you buy your cigar. I'm not knocking gas stations that sell cigars. I am a firm believer, and when you go to get a cigar, you typically go to a cigar specialist, somebody that specializes in cigar maintenance and cigar upkeep. 9 times out of 10, and this is just 9 times out of 10 out of my experience, those gas stations really don't pay attention to the humidity, don't make sure the proper moisture is in the area in which the cigars are kept. They just don't really understand the maintenance that goes into maintaining cigars. So what I'm getting to is, when you go to smoke your first cigar, make sure you go to a reputable brick and mortar spot, or a reputable online distributor. There are some online distributors like Cigar International, Corona Cigars, Neptune Cigars. I mean, those are just some examples of some great reputable online distributors. And they also have a brick and mortar spot which they keep those cigars. So they're just not getting them out of the warehouse and throw them in a bag and send them to you. The last piece of advice that I would give you when you're deciding on your first cigar is to have fun. It's to have fun. You may not find the cigar that is just perfect for your taste bud the first time. But you continue to explore different cigar companies, different brands of cigars, different types of cigars until you find that one. And even when you find that one, there's another great cigar out there for you at the time when you're starting. Again, this is Jack the Cigar Enthusiast. Subscribe, share, and like.